Hey guys, this lesson is on using the distributive property of multiplication, but instead of using it with 2-digit numbers, today we're going to be working with 3-digit numbers. So we're going to use the same process that we used before. It's just going to look slightly different. So first, let's activate our prior knowledge. Looking at this example of 83 times 30, I want to rewrite it using the distributive property and then solve it. I know I'm going to keep the number 30 because it ends in a 0, and that means it's a multiple of 10. Because I kept that, I know that it's going to go in both sets of parentheses. Then I'm going to have to break the number 83 up into groups. And you'll notice that 83 is a 2-digit number. And since that's a 2-digit number that I'm breaking up, when I break it up by place value, it's going to get broken up into 2 groups. Which is why I have 2 sets of parentheses. So when I break that number 83 up by place value, it becomes 80 and 3. Then I can multiply. I know 30 times 80 will give me 2,400 because 3 times 8 is 24 and there are 2 zeros. And I know that 30 times 3 will give me 90 because 3 times 3 is 9 and there's 1 0. When I add these together, I get 2,490 as my final product. Remember that 2,490 are both considered partial products. When we add them together, we get the total product or the final product. Now we're going to look at an example that uses a couple more digits. So I have 20 times 161. I'm still going to keep the number 20 because it ends in a 0. So it needs to go in each of my parentheses groups. You'll notice here that I have 3 groups of parentheses, and that's because the number I'm breaking up, 161, is a 3-digit number. That means it has 3 different place values, which means that I'm going to break it up into 3 groups. So each of these 3 groups will have the number 20. And then I need to break up the number 161 by place value. 161 breaks up into 100, 60, and 1. So that's how I would rewrite it using the distributive property, and now I can multiply. 20 times 100 is 2,000. 20 times 60 is 1,200. And 20 times 1 is 20. Now I can add all of those numbers up. So my final product is 3,220. So even though this number, 161, had 3 digits, I can still use the distributive property. I just have to remember that I need to break it up into the number of parentheses groups that matches the number of digits. Now I want you to try this example on your own and we'll go over it. Okay, first things first. We need to decide which number we're going to keep and which number we're going to break up. We're going to keep the number 30 because it ends in 0, and we're going to break up the number 253. We know that 253 has 3 digits, so it gets broken up into 3 groups. Each of those groups will have the number 30, And then we'll break 253 up by place value. So it breaks up into 200, 50, and 3. The next step is to multiply. And the last step is to add. So my final product is 7,590. Now let's look at an example where both numbers have 3 digits. When both numbers have 3 digits, the rule for which number to keep stays the same. 200 ends in 0, which means it's a multiple of 10, which means it's going to be easy to multiply with. So that's the one we want to keep. And we'll break 325 up into groups. That's a 3-digit number, so I know I'm going to need 3 groups of parentheses. And I know that each of those groups needs to contain the number 200. Then I can break 325 up by place value. So the process is exactly the same, the number's just a little bigger. Next, we'll multiply. And then we'll add. So our final product is 65,000. Now I want you to try this example on your own and we'll go over it. Okay, I'm going to keep the number 400 because it ends in 0 and break up the number 197 into 3 different groups because it's a 3-digit number. Each of those groups will contain the number 400. And 197 gets broken up into 100, 90, and 7. 400 times 100 is going to give me 40,000. 400 times 90 is going to give me 36,000. And 400 times 7 is going to give me 2,800. The last step in solving is to add all of those numbers together. And our final product should have been 78,800. So the process for multiplying with the distributive property is the same for larger numbers. You just have to break it up into more groups of parentheses.